Hey guys, and welcome back to the WTFarm Girl channel, where we are doing any number of things. We have recently begun building our dream house here on the farm, so if you're interested in watching that build series, it's going to be a very intriguing build series. We're doing a mono truss house, so it's a single slope roof frame. It's going to be a modern style Marno, very different than what you guys have seen previously on YouTube, so definitely follow along. But today we are doing first cutting hay. That is the primary product we produce here on our farm. We are slowly transitioning into Christmas trees, a U-cut Christmas tree farm. So we are a couple weeks behind on doing first cutting hay. We've had a lot of weather issues here in Michigan. First cutting hay can be a real beast to try to cut and bale correctly. Last year when we finished baling, the baler was not working correctly. So going into this year, it's gonna be a little sketchy to see if it would even produce a bale. Can we get the field baled? And not only that, but the TYM has been giving us issues. We have been burning through the clutch, doing grappling with the TYM. It has been a workhorse. But unfortunately, probably a hydrostat version would have been a better way to go, because now we don't have a whole lot of clutch left, and you use a lot of clutch to run the grapple and stack the hay. Will the tractor hold up, and will the baler hold up? It's definitely going to be an edge of your seat type of ride to see if we can get this whole thing done and off the field in record time, because we are going to be getting hay on Saturday. So we're cutting the field on Tuesday, so we have to get everything done by Friday night. Can we do it? Hopefully. Alright, so we are hitting the fields doing first cutting hay. You can see, hopefully, how headed out the grass is. This is not good, guys. This lowers the nutrition for our horse customers. Well, I mean, the nutrition will still be okay. It'll be a little bit higher in fat, possibly, and lower in protein. So hopefully the sugar is still good, because that's really what my customers want, is low sugar. But we don't have a choice. It's just been one of those springs, so we're just gonna have to get it cut and hope for the best. So, yep. Hopefully this will go alright. Alright, so I set my feet up a lot higher, just because I don't want to take as much of the stem on the lower end, because that's where a lot of the sugar is. Alright, well, I gotta turn off the tractor and redo this then. Alright, I figured it out. My overflow reservoir was completely full, and I just don't think it allowed any pressure change, so I dumped that out. I think we're good. I'm not even sure like the third here. Alright, I just wanted to show you this field back here really quick. It is so thick. I pounded the fertilizer down. Now this is the field, guys, that I use the auto sear on. So we have put it down exactly the way it was supposed to go down. And this is the result. This is the thickest that I have seen it in ages. Absolute ages. Look at this. I mean, it's crowding out all the weeds. And here's the sad fact of doing hay, is turkeys don't move if you get near them. They will actually sit there and get eaten by something before they move. So I did not even see her at all. I did manage to save 4 eggs out of the nest that hadn't been hit. But I'm gonna have to clean all of that up tomorrow with a bucket. It's pretty awful. And you know, I had hit her before I started really watching the grass, because I started seeing small deer beds for fawns, and I'm like, ooh, I better be watching for fawns. I totally had forgotten. Just too many things going on, and so I'm sitting here scanning for fawns, and then I see that on my path that I'd already mowed. I'm like, oh, I guess I started scanning a little bit too late. But there's potentially a fawn out here, because I saw a young doe come up to the edge of my mowed area and just sit there and stare at me until I was almost up next to her, and then she ran off. So I'm really trying to keep tabs now. I'm losing light, so hopefully I can get this done quickly. It really sucks about that turkey though. I mean, she had a quick death, don't get me wrong. Like, dying by a hay vine is a lot better than dying by a coyote, okay? But I didn't even feel her. Like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I hear these stories of people that run over deer all the time, and like, wouldn't that annihilate my hay cutter? Apparently not. I mean, I didn't feel any boom, nothing. It was crazy to me. Like, I don't know. 12 years doing hay, that's the first time I've actually run something over other than a snake or a rabbit. I think I've hit a rabbit before. So, the hay is looking absolutely beautiful though. Very thick, very nice. It's going down nicely. I picked up speed just a little bit, so it might not be cutting quite as cleanly as it could be. But it's looking great. There's a couple little thinner areas, but most of the field, I'd say at least 3/4 to 7/8 of the field are great. And I don't think I'm gonna cut my last field until next week. It sucks, but I'm just not gonna have enough time. And this is so thick of hay that I don't think we'd even be able to get it all baled in time. So, yep, that's the plan of attack. And hopefully I won't be attacking any other wildlife out here. Okay, it's a good thing I caught that. That would be a bad day for Suzanne. Bad day. That would be worse than breaking my tooth, which I broke my tooth. Yeah. So my son likes to sleep on the bedroom floor sometimes. I try to limit it to like twice a week, and that's it. Because I'm like, you're 11, you need to just move into your own room permanently, right? If I told him he could sleep on the floor the rest of his life, he would be happy as a clam. But he's moving on out. Anyway, I was looking for a blanket in the dark, and I tripped over him. And Eric has this chair set off to the side that's holding his clothes that need to get put away. I tripped over my son and was bending down at the same time to collect the blanket off the floor, and I bashed my face on the chair. Totally busted that tooth off. Gonna go in tomorrow to get it fixed, hopefully. But have you guys ever broken a tooth, or is it just me? I mean, I'm sure it happens, but so we'll see what it looks like when it's baled. It can change a lot, especially considering that we have so many stems in here. So what I'm gonna do is actually drying down pretty good. I don't even really know if I need to flip it. I was gonna see if I could just go through and tet it and just fluff it up a little bit. I feel like every year I do hay just a little bit different. And that's mostly because the hay is different every year. The time of year that we cut, the thickness of the grass, all of that stuff, the weather, it all is just a little bit different. So then look at this. This is beautiful. I mean, yeah, we've got some dandelion, but that's not a big deal. Those are good weeds. Alright, so this is the first field that I cut. I just went through and I tedded it maybe about an hour or so ago. And it's already looking like almost I could bale it. Almost. So this was cut Tuesday. Today is Thursday. It does look a little bit more brown than I like it, and that's just because I tedded it. The downside of tedding is it exposes more hay to the sun. So it dries it faster, but the downside is it makes for ugly hay. You can see some of the leaves in here are still nice and green, but with all the stems, they sun bleach really fast. But it's close. I would probably say at the end of the day today, I might be able to bale this field. Provided my baler works and I have to get some string for it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to re-ted the field back there. I haven't checked that one in a little bit. But the goal is to hopefully have everything off the field tomorrow. That would be a record time for first cutting hay, especially this thick of first cutting hay. And just because of the tedding, trying to push it. 75% chance of rain now on Saturday. Originally, when I cut it, was 20%. So, yeah, that's why we're pushing. We've got beautiful, beautiful blue skies. Friday is going to be 80 degrees. So while it's not fun to work in, it's great to dry in. So, yeah, so I think I can rake that field tomorrow and maybe rake this field tonight. Yeah, so I don't know, we'll see. I'm just praying. I'm just praying that it works out. You know, my customers are excited for it. I'll give them whatever hay I can, and anything that gets rained on, I'll just set aside for my own horses. I know the running theory is that rained on hay is lower in sugar, but in my testing experiments, I actually found the reverse to be true. It doesn't necessarily lower the sugar. Sometimes it can actually raise the sugar, depending on a lot of factors. But yeah, so you know, all you can do is the best you can, and you know, that's just all of farming. You do your best with the tools you have, and you trust God with the rest. You don't find too many atheist farmers. They just don't last very long. Alright, so I'm out here raking. The windrows are looking good. The hay is definitely dry. You might even argue it's a little bit too dry, but like I said before, the first cutting, at least it's not going to mold. First cutting definitely chokes me up a lot worse than second and third, and it's partly because of the dryness factor and partly because of the pollen. It's just really been pollinating. So I'm running the pattern just a little bit different than I normally do for hay, for raking. So you can see that I'm kind of angling stuff a little bit differently. And then I'm going to swing it back and switch back my turn, which I can do with this rake. I prefer it with the TYM, but Eric's got it occupied. So then we're just going to pick it back up, and I might catch the last little bit of that tail of the hay right there. So that hay. But I'm doing it this way because I make left-hand turns in my baler. So by having my tails curve this direction and starting from the right-hand side of the field, that means that I can bale from the left a lot easier without giant chunks left behind, which is what happens every single year, every single time. I have like a whole chunk of stuff that's just left, and then I have to go back through and clean it back up. So I'm hoping by running it this direction, I won't have that cleanup factor at the end. We'll see. But I mean, overall, it's looking good. The weather's great. It's just gonna be a matter of timing. We have to get the hay elevator working because that is currently not working. We haven't used it in a couple of years, so yeah, since we stopped using the hay carts, really. But we can't grapple the hay into the barn like we normally do because we have a stack of plywood in the barn for the house. So the only thing that can access the hay loft right now is the hay elevator. Unless, of course, we skip first cutting for ourselves and just sell it all. And then just take, you know, most of second or third. I don't know. I mean, we have that option too. But I'd rather not, just because of the heat factor. I'd rather stack hay in a non-hot barn than in a super hot barn. Alright, so I went through and raked the field. I mean, these are some thick windrows. This is a single raking, but the rake was spread out pretty far. I actually wanted it in a little thinner, but I can't adjust that stupid thing. I love my V-rake, but it's a pain in the butt to adjust. So I have a sacrificial bale right here. So we're gonna try something different. We're gonna preload it with a bale of hay. I don't know if that's gonna do anything. I've lubed everything, greased everything, and I took some new advice this time by not greasing the knotters. Actually, I see one I forgot was that plunger up there, right there. I might have to come back. I do have the grease gun in the tractor. So, but he said he swore by just using WD-40 on the knotter mechanism parts and not lubing it up, because his experience was grease would always just get everywhere and it would make the knotter slip. So we're gonna try that and see if it works. All right, PTO on. So you guys give me great advice to run at it exactly 540 and to count the strokes per minute, and that's what I did. So 540 is the target. So here we go. And I'm sorry this is so bumpy. I'm doing this on my phone. So I apologize. Here we go, guys. Prayers, please. I mean, I'm not expecting the first bale to be good, but I'm hoping that we can pump some hay through it. All right. So we got one bale through. That's promising. So at the very least, we have the sacrificial bale has been baled. I have not measured this. We gotta remember that we need to measure these. We also need to change our counter. Alright, well, I just had my first bale break. So we've put 294 bales through this bale chamber this spring. So 2 broken bales out of 294. I'll take those chances, those odds. It still looks like it's the same sort of thing where it might not completely be cutting through, or it's slightly delayed or something. It's just slightly off, just the tiniest bit. So that's why I'm trying to take it slow. Yeah, we've got a lot of hay out here. A lot of hay. So I better get cracking. Just a little bit off, but as long as it's pulling them through, that's all that matters. Look at that. First one. We might have a record baling season. Thank you, Lord. So we ended up stopping at 667 bales. At that point, I was out of string. I do have some backup orange string inside there that I can use. Hopefully it won't throw the baler off, but we probably have at least another 150 bales still to be baled on the field. So we've got 667. That's 3 trailer loads. So our horse customers are coming to pick up 200. So that means we have 400 to put in the barn. 200 will go in the hay loft, and the rest will all get stacked on the floor. Cut that corner bale. They notoriously fly off, so sometimes it's better to set them down or restack them, especially when you have to back maneuver so much. Hopefully it'll stay put, but it's just hard to see that corner. You almost need a camera on it, but in this sunlight I don't think you'd even be able to see a camera. All right, so let's see if he's gonna lose it. 3, 2, 1. Whoop. All right, what do you think the result's gonna be? Although usually if he loses it, it's coming in the doorway. And whoa, yep, still there, barely. Nope. Zip it up. There you go. Stop. But then because it sags, what happens is he sees the back of it, not the front. So he doesn't realize that he's dragging it. It actually stayed pretty good. Sometimes they roll up underneath it once they get up there. So our only complaint is when we built this barn, we were on year 2 of being on the property and we hadn't done a whole lot of hay. So we weren't quite sure how much hay our property could actually produce, and we definitely didn't have a grapple accumulator. So over the years, as we've progressed our hay operation, we realized the problem with our barn is that we can't drive straight in this door. We have this big margin right here, so that really prevents us from being able to drive right in like you should be able to and stack this area along the wall. But realistically, I think it doesn't matter where you put the door, you're always going to have that issue. So but yeah, that means we have to hand stack in the corner and some of that too. And then this we can usually drive in. It's a little sketchy because of this stuff over here, so that does get to be a little tricky. Eric's probably gonna need me to help with the bale. Yep. We have got almost all of first cutting hay done. We still have 1 field left to do. Probably will be next week. But just from the first 2 fields that we did, we managed to produce 790 square bales. 790. That is a record, I think. And out of the 790 bales, we had approximately 7 that didn't tie. Once it switched over to the orange string, then the problem started up again where it would hang on the bill hook until it finally popped loose. But still, 10 bales out of almost 800, I'll take those odds. I'm very, very thankful. It was definitely a blessing from God. No doubt, a miracle. And here is what we have left after one of our hay customers came and got 200 bales. Ta-da! So these are all stacks of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So we've got 80, 80, 80. And then we've got 2 more stacks right here. We do have a walkway between here because we were planning on having this sold. And then there's our hay up there. We also filled about half the hay loft. So we put a little over 200 bales up into the loft. So that's really, really good. So we should be able to get another 200 in here, and that will put us really good going into winter with 400 bales. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed our first cutting hay 2024. We've got 2 more cuttings of hay yet this year, but we're going to swing back into cement work on the house. So stay tuned for that next week. But after doing hay, what do you think is the single biggest thing we have always wanted to do? After an entire week of busting our butt, beating our muscles, being exhausted, what do you think sounds amazing after doing hay? We've talked about it for years, we've joked, we've lamented, we've wished, and we finally pulled the trigger this year. Guess what it is? Well, you don't have to guess. You'll find out this Wednesday. So stay tuned for our mini vacay away from hay on Wednesday. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and be sure to leave a comment down below on what you like to do after a day of hard work. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.